How to define a two-dimensional array. I want to define a two-dimensional array without an initialized length like this. But this gives an error. Index error, list index out of range.
You're technically trying to index an uninitialized array. You have to first initialize the outer list with lists before adding items. Python calls this list comprehension. Hashtag you can now add items to the list. Note that the matrix is Y address major. In other words, the Y index comes before the X index. Although you can name them as you wish, I look at it this way to avoid some confusion that could arise with the indexing. If you use X for both the inner and outer lists, and want a non-square matrix.
If you really want a matrix, you might be better off using numpy. Matrix operations in numpy most often use an array type with 2 dimensions. There are many ways to create a new array. One of the most useful is the zeros function, which takes a shape parameter and returns an array of the given shape, with the values initialized to 0. Here are some other ways to create 2D arrays and matrices, with output removed for compactness. NumPy provides a matrix type as well, but it is no longer recommended for any use, and may be removed from numpy in the future.
Here is a short annotation for initializing a list of lists. Unfortunately, shortening this to something like 5*5*0, it doesn't really work because you end up with 5 copies of the same list, so when you modify one of them they all change. For example,
if you want to create an empty matrix, the correct syntax is. And if you want to generate a matrix of size 5 filled with 0.
If all you want is a two-dimensional container to hold some elements, you could conveniently use a dictionary instead. Then you can do. This works because 1, 2 is a tuple, and you're using it as a key to index the dictionary. The result is similar to a dumb sparse matrix. As indicated by OSA and Josette Vols, you can also use matrix equals collections.defaultIct lambda column 0, so that the missing elements have a default value of 0. Votsol further points that this method is probably not very efficient for large matrices and should only be used in non-performance critical parts of the code.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.